like, I came here for God, and I'm just scared that everything I do would be with Him.
Okay, now we're recording. Now we're cooking. Well, I'm never gonna make that mistake again.
We're so back.
We're so bad.
We're so back.
Yeah, we totally just filmed it. Like, we just talked for like an hour, and I didn't realize I wasn't recording. So we're gonna talk about it all over again.
So we're gonna talk about it again. Let's go.
Luckily, we know what we're talking about this time, so we can go through it fairly quickly.
Kind of, yeah.
Hopefully, yeah. It's 11 o'clock, so.
I got school tomorrow. I got classes tomorrow.
Do I have a haircut at 1:15 tomorrow? I don't know. I'm gonna make it.
Let's go.
So welcome to the new tradition, episode 3.
Yeah,
again.
welcome to episode 3.
Again.
Part 2 of episode 3.
Part 2 of episode 3.
The first part will never make it out.
You'll never see it. No. Okay. So to go over what we've been going over for the past hour. In this episode, we want to briefly explain a few authors that we have been reading from that I'm going to be talking about specifically. Yes, exactly. I'm going to be talking about specifically in this episode, and then Isaiah is going to go over a few of the main philosophers that we reference continually.
Mm-hmm. I'm thinking that maybe we should just skip that because it's like we can just further down the line another episode we can just go in depth into each of these guys.
Okay. Yeah.
Like we can just make an episode about them.
Okay. I'm going to explain Harold Bloom and Joseph Campbell specifically though because I'm going to be talking about them once we go over everything we just talked about. Harold Bloom was a professor at Yale University back in the day.
Yeah.
He died in 2012. He wrote 2 books, which I am.
Well, he wrote more than 50 books.
Right. He'd been publishing since the 1950s. But I've been reading 2 books. I've finished the Western Canon, and I'm currently reading the Book of J. The Western Canon is his writing in the late 90s. He noticed the rise of feminism, multiculturalism, and a few other things kind of in that vein. I guess you would say infecting universities and stuff. And so he noticed that the classical books and texts and authors that had been taught in universities for hundreds of years were all of a sudden... Not
even universities, just like schools.
Yeah, exactly. Even
any forms of classical education, really. Which was... Classical education didn't even used to be classical education. It used to be just education.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so...
But now we're just making everybody dumber.
Right. So all of a sudden... Right, so all of a sudden, these... these books are not in schools anymore. So he sees a need, and he writes this book, The Western Canon, which is him chronicling and documenting and explaining why all these books and authors are truly great and need to be recognized. And one of his points is that, well, he has kind of 2 main points. The first is that authors and texts or books that are considered for the Western canon typically are authors who take something that was previously established in the canon and derive their own story and basically add on to the heritage of
like
that
a strangeness.
Right, exactly.
So it's like he says that like these authors each have anxieties inherited by previous authors who were great and who excelled in things like just writing ability and aesthetic supremacy. and that derived from them a desire to take it and make it their own, which is what he claims that all great literary works are greatness trying to emulate greatness, and making it strange, perverting it in a sense, taking it, misinterpreting it, negating it, and creating something new out of it.
Yeah.
Which, if you were listening to our previous episodes, ties into kind of our philosophy about God and understanding God.
Yeah. And we're gonna go into that a little bit more today once we really get going. Yeah. So that's the Western canon. There was another point I was going to make about the Western canon, but I'm going to make that point once I think of what it was. The second book...
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
The second book that I am currently reading is the book of J, which is upside down. There we go. And in this book, Harold Bloom takes a translation of the J text, translated by David Rosenberg, and the J text is a text that Harold Bloom, he kind of makes a joke out of it a little bit, but he presumes that this ancient text, which is the original basis of the Hebrew Bible or the Christian Old Testament, his thing is that it was originally more or less written by a woman, and that woman was a woman somehow in the court of Solomon and Rehoboam, and maybe possibly also David. David is at least within living memory of anyone she knows. And what else? Yeah, and so his idea is basically that the Bible, in its most archaic form, was originally written as kind of a similar notion as Homer writing the Iliad or the Odyssey, which is the Old Testament was written to document the incredible heroic events that happened in her people's past. Once again, more or less, there's a lot more nuance to it in the book. So the first half of the book is so the first half of the book is just a translation of the J text, which goes from Genesis to Numbers, the beginning of Numbers. So Genesis, Exodus, Numbers, the first three books of the Bible. There are certain stories, very notable stories actually, from the Hebrew and Christian Bible that are not in the J text, and that's because the J text is only the first of, I believe, 5 different notable periods where it was added onto, edited and redacted, and also had other texts like
that supplemented it, yeah.
like Tenet, you know what I'm saying?
I don't know what you're saying, but I agree with you.
Film nerds out there will get what I'm saying. So that's that's Harold Bloom.
That's Harold Bloom.
And the book of J, the second half of the book of J is Harold Bloom's commentary on that, which is very similar to Jordan Peterson's Maps of Meaning lectures, which you can watch on YouTube and Spotify. Okay, that's Harold Bloom. Joseph Campbell is another famous professor, also deceased, who kind of popularized the idea of the hero's journey. And if you're writing, if you go to school for any of the arts, you're going to hear about the hero's journey and Joseph Campbell. And he wrote a book called The Hero with a Thousand Faces, which is his, it's more or less like
it's a documentation of all the prominent mythologies and kind of talking about the hero role and similarities between all of them.
between different cultures and mythologies throughout history. He noticed patterns and similarities between these great stories, and basically wrote a book kind of outlining the general story of the hero
Yeah,
that
the
man has
archetypal
created.
journey of
The
the
art,
hero.
exactly, the archetypal journey.
Yeah.
I have not read Hero with a Thousand Faces, but I mean to eventually. But I've done a
Mhm.
great deal of study of that, as well as the Dan Harmon Story Circle, which is a derivation of the hero's journey, but more condensed, easy to digest. Dan Harmon is the writer of the TV show Community, and also Rick and Morty. Next is the book Masks of God, Occidental Mythology, which is the third book in a four-part series. I have not read the other parts, but I found this on a in a bookstore in Boston uh, this past a semester ago, and I just finished it. Uh, this book goes through the history of mythology in Western civilization. It starts with the ancient Sumerians. No, it starts before that actually. It starts with the what I presume is a recap of the first book, which is Primitive Mythology, which talks about the most ancient versions of religion, which had God as a woman birthing the world, and for thousands of years, people believed that God was feminine, and there's a whole thing like that, and then it goes down through the ages through the Sumerians, and then the Levant, which is it's the most eastern part of the Mediterranean, which is everything from Turkey down to Egypt, and kind of out further east, and then eventually through Christianity and Islam and Judaism, all the way up until kind of the present day, but not really. He kind of ends it on the idea of the present day. So I'm going to be referencing that as well. What do I want to talk about first? So
Do you want to just jump into Satan,
we could jump into Satan.
and then
So
we could just like go from there.
we can do that. That's a good way. We're just gonna do a cold open on that. So
Hold up, and I'll Satan,
a
dude.
cold open on Satan. Yeah. So recently I read Occidental Mythology by Joseph Campbell, and in the last chapter, the last chapter, I think it talks about Satan. Specifically, it talks about Islam. I'm going to explain Satan real quick. For those of you who are not
Like
familiar with it.
the common view. So, explain where we got our common view of Satan from.
Right. Okay.
Like
So
the picture of Satan we have in our head nowadays. Where
yes.
does it come from?
So in Christianity, in Western civilization, our traditional view of Satan comes from, well, kind of the Bible, but more specifically, two epic poems written respectively in the 1300s and 15/1600s. I forget which one.
Yeah.
The first one is the Divine Comedy by Dante Alighieri. I think that's how you say his last name. And the second one is Paradise Lost by John Milton. The Divine Comedy is written kind of in the first person, and it's kind of like a dream that the author goes through and is led by Virgil, who wrote the Aeneid back for the Romans.
Which is the Roman
Yes.
mythos, Roman mythology
Mm-hmm.
that they created in response to the Greek epics such as the Iliad and the Odyssey.
Because to be connected to the Greeks via history and poem and poetry is very Chad and cash money.
It's very important.
It is. So Satan, the way we conceive him in our heads in Western civilization, is derived, at least in terms of imagery, from Dante, which is you have the he's red.
Big red
He's
guy.
got he's kind of like he's kind of
Yeah, the
icky.
wings.
He's got the big bat wings, He's got the horns,
Yeah.
and he has three faces, which is not too common anymore, but it was once. The three faces are chewing. So hell is broken down into levels
Yeah.
of increasingly worse sins, according to Dante. The bottom
Yeah.
level of hell is for those who betray, and so all the betrayers are frozen in ice, which is continually kept frozen by the flapping of Satan's wings,
Which is pretty sick.
which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Satan, in his three mouths, is chewing Judas Iscariot, who betrayed Christ, and Brutus and Cassius, who betrayed Julius Caesar, which you can read about in a dramatized version in Julius Caesar by William Shakespeare. It's a very good play.
He's a good author too, I think.
Yeah, he's alright. Shakespeare's alright.
Yeah. He's no Colleen Hoover, but
True, dude. I don't even know who that is. Paradise Lost.
book talk people would know.
Okay. Paradise Lost is also epic poetry written by John Milton, I think in the 1600s. And basically, it takes the point of view of Satan, of him getting kicked out of heaven and then tempting Adam and Eve, and kind of him building his armies and all this. It's very cool. I haven't read that since sophomore year of high school, which was 6 years. There it is, right there. Yep. Which was like a long time ago. So I don't remember it that well. So I'm not gonna go into it too much. But what's important is that if you think of Satan, if you conceptualize him in your head, it's actually not coming from the Bible. Mostly, it's coming from the Divine Comedy and Paradise Lost.
Yeah.
Okay. Satan.
The Bible does refrain from a lot of symbolic imagery of Satan.
Yeah.
Between the first and the last book. So the first and the last book, you get the snake, and you get the dragon, and in between that, you're like, yo, what does this guy look like?
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And he's
because like even when Jesus is being tempted by Satan, you're just like,
he's just a dude.
Is it a guy?
Yeah.
He's not even a dude. They don't even have any like. Imagery.
Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah. See,
it's
that's
like,
the thing.
It could be a
I'm
voice,
thinking of the Passion of the Christ. Like, what am I doing here? Which is the Mel Gibson movie, of course. Okay, so Satan in Christianity is kind of derived from that. You're right, actually. Jesus refers to Satan once. Imagery of him falling out of heaven, as he says, "I saw Satan fall from heaven like lightning."
Right. And then there's like that kind of imagery portrayed in like Isaiah and other such books.
Yeah, and
I'm pretty sure.
The issue kind of with those is that they're not talking about Satan. They're talking about actual people who did exist, like humans, and so they're using the metaphor of what
Satan's fall.
I don't think we understand that metaphor because of the New Testament conception of Satan, but that's not what they thought. That's not what the Jews thought Satan was. Yes.
So, by the way, just to add on to this, that metaphor was a metaphor placed upon the mythology of astronomy that was present in the olden days, because that's how they conceptualized the world, was creating stories through the stars, which they thought dictated everything, which could be true. But it was the imagery of Venus, which was the brightest star, being thrown out of something. So Venus was called, I'm pretty sure, the Morning Star, which is the same name as Lucy, as our boy. So it's interesting how that metaphorical aspect of the fall was portrayed previously, even with no concept of monotheism. Anyway, keep going.
So, going from Christianity into Judaism, Judaism does not see Satan as the devil. Um, in Christianity, Satan is the devil. He is Satan. Satan is his name, which he got after getting kicked out of heaven. Originally, he was God's like top dog. He was Lucifer, the angel of light. But in his pride, he decided that he wanted to do things better than God, and God was like, "Dude, you're not doing that," and he kicks him out of heaven.
And he becomes the incarnation of all evil.
Exactly.
So the Christian view of Satan is that he's the big bad. Everything he does is bad, and that's all. That's all there is to his character.
In Judaism, the best way to conceptualize Satan from the Bible is the story of Job. So Satan is not, he's not Satan, he is the Satan, which is the adversary. Satan...
and he was created by God in order to tempt man. Correct?
Yes. So Satan, in Job, Satan comes back into God's throne room, and God basically says, "Hey, what have you been up to?" And Satan says, to effect, "I've been walking around the earth, checking out who's righteous and who's not." And God says, "What do you think about Job?" And Satan says, "Well, I mean, he's gonna break like everyone else, because they're all human." And God says, "No, I don't really know about that." And Satan's like, "No, watch this." And then
Watch this backflip.
What?
Watch this backflip.
Yeah, watch this. And so Satan then goes to tempt Job, but he's not the concept of evil. He is the tempter.
He's the concept of evil under the ordinance of God. So Satan in Christianity is like, he's the big bad, and he's like separate from God, right? It's like, God versus Satan, epic rap battles of history.
The dualism.
Dualism, which is kind of weird, because it's like, well, it's funny because Christians try to justify this. They're like, no, Satan's not actually the adversary of God. He's the adversary of Michael, the archangel. Therefore, he's not God's equal. And it's like, not really changing anything. It's just semantics at that point.
Yeah, you're splitting hairs. Yeah.
But in Judaism, he's under God's ordinance, and he's under his dominion, and he's doing evil for God in a sense, which you might be opposed to because you're like, no, God's all good, and it's like, is he really? Which we can go in deeper.
Yeah, so I'll just reference that now. Isaiah 45:7. God speaking to Isaiah. You know what? I'm gonna pull it out of the good book. Yeah, and actually, I actually got this Bible at Camp of the Woods a few years ago. Funny story.
I know Camp of the Woods.
God speaking to Isaiah: "I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things." Which like totally takes Western Christianity's conception of God and goes like. I love ragging on Saint Augustine, who was the bishop of Hippo, and who kind of created the idea of original sin, or at least conceptualized it out of Paul's writing, which we've already talked about in our previous episode. Satan.
Let's go into. Do you want to finish the Judaism Satan thought, or do you want to go into Islam?
I want to go into Islam. Did you have something to say about?
Let's go into.
Okay. Satan in Islam is pretty much the exact same, except he has a much cooler backstory, I think. So in the beginning, creation kind of unfolds the same way in the Quran as it does in Judaism and Christianity. God creates the world, creates, he creates the universe, reality, etc., etc. Creates the angels, and he says to the angels, "All right, I'm God. You worship me alone. Have no other gods before me." And And so Satan's like, yeah, cool. And so everyone worships God and everything's good. And then God creates Adam, the first man. And God says to the angels, okay, now worship him, Adam. And all the angels fall down and worship Adam. And Satan says, what? You told me to worship you alone. Who is this guy? And so he doesn't. He rebels against God, and God kicks him out of heaven. This story comes from Occidental mythology, which is the chapter on Islam. It's not the chapter on Islam. Actually, it is a chapter on Islam, but it's one of it's in there. Okay, but what Joseph Campbell says is Satan is not kicked out of heaven because God is inconsistent or because Satan disobeyed God, even though peripherally speaking that is why he gets kicked out of heaven. The reason Satan gets kicked out of heaven is because the idea of God in Satan's mind, you could even say the idol of God in his mind, is paramount to who God actually is to Satan, in Satan's mind. So, you shall have no other gods before me. Yes, God was inconsistent, but also Satan had his own idol of who God was, which is kind of our idol of God, who is someone that is consistent. And I have a whole thing about about God being inconsistent. I had like a 2-hour phone call with a friend of mine today about this. So Satan gets kicked out of heaven because he did not follow the first commandment, which was worship me alone.
Which, what you're saying fits into the Old Testament well, because if you read the Old Testament, you're kind of like, yo, what is God doing right now, bro? Like,
And that's, yeah.
he's wild.
Dude, he's crazy.
So, like, it makes sense.
Yeah. No, it
He's
does make sense.
crazy. And obviously, like, the Jehovah that was revealed to the Jewish people during that time and stuff is very different from the perception of, like, God we have today. So the book of keep going.
So what I was going to say, and this is a point that Harold Bloom makes, is he thinks even the actual God, God as he is not the same as the way that the Bible describes him. Which goes back to our idea from Nietzsche, which is that the Bible might be cooked because it exists in the first place.
Right.
If the Bible's job is to explain who God is and to make him known and to tell the story. Yeah.
If you take the Bible as a guidebook to understand God, you're missing the point.
Yeah. But the issue is that people do that. Yeah.
Do that because they want an easy understanding of God. And so it's like, then what is the Bible? And the only kind of correct response is it's a mythos, it's mythology.
Right.
And obviously that sounds wrong because you're like, oh, if it's a myth, then it's not real, and I can't follow it. It's like you're limiting yourself and you're limiting your spiritual experience with God. Because choosing to dilute God into a dummy's guide to God, a philosophy, you're not really worshiping God. You're just worshiping the succession of people's thoughts and personal experiences with God, which is what happens when you go into like theology and philosophy and all these things. Is you're consuming these secondary thoughts and attributes upon God, and therefore you can't really ascribe anything to him other than the thoughts of other people, which they gain through their own personal experience with God. I love how you're grinning right now. I love it when you smile at me like. Dude,
that's everything I've been thinking about, bro. It's so good. Yeah, right. That's exactly what I've been thinking about. Yeah, that's actually going into
and
like.
This is not to say.
Yeah.
This is not to say the Bible is not a good way to live your life.
Right. Yeah. Of
It is
course.
a great way to live your
Hmm.
life. And in my belief, it's the only way to live your life. Is if you, in humility, approach this mythology, and you try to get to know God through it.
Hmm.
But if you're approaching that with that intention and action, then you can therefore, with that intention, with that pure intention of trying to get to know God, you can approach other things with that as well.
Right.
And so thereby you're not limiting yourself to just these specific successions of people and their thoughts build upon each other, but you broaden your horizons to the entire context of thought and of mythology and of stories.
Hmm.
And in that recognition of the secondary attributes, you can find the one.
Yeah.
But you can't really find him, but you can give it its due diligence and due respect.
Yeah. I think as Jordan Peterson says, the the truest stories are true all the time. And I think
Mm,
that's a reason why it's okay to see the Bible as mythology. Because seeing it as a
yeah.
historical text does it a tremendous disservice. Because
Mhm.
if it's only something that happened once throughout history, like that's
Then
just
it's not
not
true.
true. Like those
Right.
stories, even in my own life, I've been realizing this. I there's a situation happening in my life right now where uh the story of Jacob and Esau in Genesis, where uh, it's just go read it. It's I'm not gonna explain the whole thing, but I'm I realized I'm actually Esau in this situation. Not that I sold my birthright, or I'm not sure what I sold yet, but I sold something, and my brother had to run away.
Mhm.
I'm not exactly Esau in the situation, but kind of like I'm kind of Esau after Jacob runs away.
Mhm.
We're gonna see how that plays out in the next few years. But anyways,
So wait,
um,
real quick, a thought on the necessity of the Bible.
yeah.
So you know how we were talking about like collective consciousness and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
You need the Bible for that. You need something like the Bible for that.
How so?
So not every single person is capable of doing the exploration of their own cognition and consciousness. People need a direction.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Bible provides that. It provides you
The
a way
orientation.
to, yeah, it provides you an orientation. And a lot of people don't need the schizophrenia and spazzing out that I do with things. Because a lot of people can just live their lives and just be like, oh, shoot, cool. Like, this is good stuff. Because it is. It's good stuff. There's a lot of wisdom. There's a lot of
Yeah.
great spiritual, like, fruit and food within the Bible. But for people who are spazzers like me, I'm gonna look at it and I'm gonna be like, this isn't true all the time. Like there's some things that are diluted. There's some things that are not being presented to me in their fullness,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is the case with everything.
Yeah.
And when you make that realization and when you increase in consciousness enough to actually be aware of your surroundings, you need more than just the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And that sounds bad because it's like people think that the Bible is all they need. So I gotta person come in. You can come in. What do you want? Oh hey, what's up? This is Matt.
What's
That's
up?
Matt Brandon. Yeah, we're doing an episode right now. So yeah, you're good, dude. Yeah, all right, bye.
Um. Yeah. Okay. So using limiting yourself to the Bible does a great disservice to you as a human.
Right. But so
Yes.
to touch on lack and access real quick,
Mm-hmm.
but idealizing something that is grander than the Bible is in itself also a disservice. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that kind of
Because
that.
if
Yeah.
if I think that there are if I think that the Bible does not hold true, then I'm also doing myself a disservice because I'm not recognizing the wisdom in it
Mm-hmm.
and the spiritual truth in it. So if it's like if I place myself above the Bible where I'm like, like, dude, like some of these things are wrong, like, so therefore it's not good. It's not going to do me any good. That's a disservice to my life. And by doing that, I will have no solid points of orientation. But if I place myself below it and take it as my only route to salvation, then I'm ignoring a lot of the other living beings that have God in them. I'm ignoring a lot of people, and I'm choosing to reduce them to something else that is not me. Um, you know what I mean? Like,
So
Christians think that nobody else can enter the kingdom of God than people who say Jesus died for our sins, arose again in 3 days, and therefore we're all saved.
mhm,
They think that nobody else can enter heaven because of that.
mhm.
And it's like, is that true? Like, you can't
Yeah,
find the one creator of everything other than through this script.
yeah.
That's limiting. I don't know.
That
I'm
cut.
sorry. This is
No, 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 no,
very,
no.
very
It's yeah.
controversial.
No, no, no. You're good. I agree with that, and that's crazy you said that because that's what I kind of wanted to talk about next was, um.
Keep going.
So
I'm gonna be going to get something real quick.
okay,
Just
yeah.
keep talking. I'm listening.
So one idea that I've been thinking about, I don't really know. I haven't developed it that much, but I have this idea that, kind of based off of what Jesus was saying when he said that my kingdom is not of this earth. And Christianity, as we understand it, is kind of wrong because we made it a religion and it is of this earth. Now, you can argue, as I did today actually with a friend of mine, that the, the church is uh, has the Holy Spirit, and that's the actual church. That's the fellowship of the believers, of those following Christ. Then there's the institutionalized church, which is institutionalized by Constantine in the 300s.
See how that creates a binary? Do you see
Yeah.
how like that
Hmm.
create? Do you know what I'm talking about? How it creates a binary where it's like us versus them,
Yeah.
and it's like you can't find God in those binaries.
Right. Yeah.
Like you can't find God in just that like attributes of just one versus the other.
Hmm.
In order to make yourself appear as a complete thing.
Right.
Anyways,
So that's not what I'm trying to do with this. If yeah.
exactly. Yeah, no, I know.
So, assuming what you were saying earlier is true, which is that you do not have to uh, you do not have to proclaim the name of Jesus to be saved. Assuming that's kind of true or is true, it would seem to suggest in a way that all religions are equally wrong as far as their own followers' understanding of it is concerned.
Mhm.
I have to get my notes out for this because I wrote this down. Um, because the idea of it is kind of along the lines of what Nietzsche was saying, which is that once an idea is written down or takes, is kind of like spoken into existence almost, it becomes polluted or like diluted by human conceptions of it, which goes back to our idea of imperfect communication from the Tower of Babel.
Yeah.
Therefore, all religions are equally wrong, but also kind of equally right.
Right. So let me
So,
advocate for Christianity for a little bit and like
yeah,
say
so
why it's a good idea to
before you
follow
do that,
Christ.
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Before you do that, I just wanted to leave off by saying, where do we go from there? Shoot.
Right. So I guess I'm not going to advocate that much because I think that most people are big enough to do the reading and understanding of their own thing.
Maybe.
Choosing to follow Christ is going to set you upright.
Yes.
And Jesus is the way, the truth, and the light.
Mm-hmm.
this is just true, because he is a perfect incarnation of the fruit of God and of how God wants us to interact with the world around us, uh, and then also deal with like our own things and etc.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think when you view Jesus as a teacher and less of as God, you do more service to him and to God in turn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Is Jesus God? Yesn't.
that's a great answer.
If you can perfectly incarnate God, that makes you basically God? Question mark. Like,
Yeah.
it's a pretty good, like, if you're following somebody who's walking in perfect alignment with God, you're gonna get pretty close to God.
This is like
You know what I mean?
every heresy of like that, like the early church fathers fought against, that
Right.
were like
It was
bringing out
against,
the.
right.
Turns out it might actually be true.
Bring it back. Bring
Bring
it
it back.
back.
Yeah.
Round two, electric boogaloo of the freaking. What was the guy? What's the guy's name in the Nicene Creed who was getting roasted by all the people?
Arius, I think.
He was Arius, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was just, bro, I'm gonna be the
Arianism.
incarnation of Arius.
Arianism, not to be confused with Arianism in the Nazi sense. Yes. Just gotta make that
Yes,
distinction. Yeah.
important distinction
We are
there.
not white supremacists.
Um,
Yeah.
as you can see, it'd be a little awkward if I was.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, you're white.
but here's the thing, man, is like what you choose to the the path to the kingdom of heaven is a narrow path,
Mm-hmm.
and it is one that can only be fulfilled if you are actively bringing the kingdom of heaven on earth. What that exactly looks like, I don't think anybody really knows.
I think
but a lot of people have gotten pretty close.
I think
Like if you looked at like Saint John of the Cross, or a lot of other bishops during a lot of like Catholic mystics during that time, like they were getting pretty close because of some of their rejections towards the common way to view Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Because they had a philosophy of love that sprouted from Jesus, who was the perfect example of love, and of God's love, and the love that we should be actively participating and working on and growing in through our lives.
Mm-hmm. The kingdom of God on heaven, of course, being the church. Yes.
Right. And here, no,
More or less.
not exactly.
Not exactly.
So here's
okay.
the thing: is a lot of people will know this without saying it. So they'll say, you can only be saved by faith alone, and proclaiming that Jesus is your savior, and that gets you your ticket to heaven.
Which is,
but
yeah, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
No, please interject.
For by faith alone you have been saved was the original verse.
A Lutheran translation. Yeah.
The original verse written by Paul is, "By faith you have been saved, through grace by faith." However it goes, Martin Luther added during the Protestant Reformation, in his own translation of the Bible, adds "alone." So that idea that faith alone saves you is not in concordance with the way that it's not how Christ would have done it, basically.
Which supplements our idea of the Bible being a little, I don't know how you'd say it. But what I was saying is a lot of people get close to this because they're like, okay, by faith alone you have been saved, but we have to love each other and love others. Mm-hmm. And so it's like you're basically saying what you're not saying. Like you're admitting that it is through a life of like love and action and incarnating the kingdom of God, of how he wants to see us interact with each other. But then saying, I'm good no matter what though, because I confessed to Jesus when I was 5. And so that gets me an automatic ticket into the heaven.
Which is Nietzsche's issue with Christianity, which is that it takes the focus off of this life and places it on a life after this one.
Which is idolizing.
Yes.
Which is, yeah.
It's idolizing it.
Which is idolizing a perfect view of God, which is idolizing, uh, which is idolizing our mortality and idolizing immortality and the concept that we will live forever.
Hmm.
People want this so bad.
Yeah.
They're sticking true to the fact that their consciousness and their self is going to stay with them when they die. You're not. Yourself, your personality, who you are, the culmination of the things that have been done to you and the things that you have done is not going to stick with you when you die. It is only the end result of your soul that is going to stick with you when you die, and that is going to be judged. So the purity of your soul, which is usually the purity of our soul should influence our actions. So if our intentions are pure, our heart is pure, and we're actively in this process of engaging with God, then our actions will reflect that. And that's what, is by faith through works, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Means. And people know this. A lot of people know this, they just get the freaking words wrong.
Yeah.
They're so hard coded into this idea that, oh, I'm gonna be saved, and the way I got it is more right than everybody else, and therefore I can subject them to whatever whims of power and stuff I want because I have the correct theological view of the universe.
Which
And it's
is
like,
taking the
really.
Lord's name in vain. So.
Which is taking the Lord's name in vain, and
Yeah.
it's you're using these spiritual wisdoms and doctrines and way to grow in yourself and grow in God in order to put in something into the world that isn't originally there.
To quote Maximus from Gladiator,
Another Gladiator reference.
what we do in life echoes through eternity. Have I referenced Gladiator already?
Mm.
When did I reference that?
So yeah, in the last one you referenced Marcus Aurelius' quote.
Oh right, yeah. Well, to reference it again,
It's a back-to-back Gladiator. It's fire. It's a good quote. That fits perfectly.
What we do in life echoes through eternity. To quote from Kingdom of Heaven, which is another Ridley Scott movie, King Baldwin, played by Edward Norton, says to Orlando Bloom's character, when you stand before God, you cannot say, but others told me thus, or virtue was not convenient at the time. Remember, whatsoever you do, your soul is in your keeping alone. It's something like that. And it's like, that's it right there.
A lot of people realize this too, dude. If you look throughout mythology and religions, a lot of people realize this. Like, your soul is the one thing that's going to be judged.
Yeah.
So it's like, purify it, dude. Get all the yucky stuff out. Get all the yummy stuff in, which is meditating on the good, which is meditating on God, love, etc.
Yeah.
And your actions will reflect according to that, because you can just act however you want, and if you're purified, then that will reflect that.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, like, if your actions are reflecting bad things and evil, then that means there's something wrong with your soul and your core. Because it's like, if I do evil and proclaim good in the name of it, it's just empty words.
Yeah.
If I'm bombing Palestinian children and saying that, hey, God told me to,
yeah,
then maybe he didn't.
Maybe he didn't. Yeah. What?
You know what I mean?
Crazy.
If I'm starving people out, then maybe something's wrong with your worldview. I don't know.
Perchance. So I'm a film major, so I have to reference another movie here.
Let's go.
This is kind of the synthesis of the past two ideas we've been talking about, which is my kingdom is not of this earth, but also there's Nietzsche who says, yeah, but you exist, and you have to live in this world. That is literally the character arc of Treebeard in The Lord of the Rings. Because, so what happens is, Merry and Pippin, the two hobbits, the other two hobbits, find Treebeard, and they want to go save their friends at Helm's Deep, Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli, who are being just like hammered by the forces of the evil wizard Saruman, who sent his legions down to like destroy this one kingdom called Rohan. And Merry and Pippin are like, "Yo, we gotta go help them," and Treebeard says, "Well, no, actually, because I don't, I don't care because I'm not on their side, which means they're not on my side."
Right.
Um, and the thing that I always think about is, yeah, but Treebeard was wrong. As Pippin says, but you're a part of this world. You exist.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, it is your responsibility to
Mm-hmm.
orient yourself correctly. It sounds cliche, but to make the world a better place,
Mm-hmm.
that looks like different things depending on your context. In that sense, making the world
Yeah.
a better place is defeating the forces of evil. What is evil? Who knows? But at that time, the the Urukai are just hammering down on Helm's Deep, and
You didn't want to like racially profile
I literally just racially profiled them. I don't know what you're talking about.
them.
Yeah,
You corrected yourself. You're being politically correct. That's
I
very
am.
good.
Yeah, they're
Maybe you're in the school of you're in the school of resentment that Bloom talks about.
they are female orcs crossed with goblin men.
Interesting.
Yeah, so they can like travel during the daytime, which the movies completely just like do away with. That's not even like a thing that they can do. I mean,
Can orcs not travel during the daytime?
well, sorry, I should. In the books, yes, they have to. Sauron sends out like a cloud that like covers the land so that they can like walk around and like kill people.
Oh, okay.
In the movies, they don't follow that at all because like
Right.
try
Who needs
portraying
to?
that. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter. It's just one of those like
Yeah.
fantasy things. It's like that's cool for
It's
the
world
book.
building. It's world
Yeah,
building. Yeah.
yeah. So what was the other thing? Oh, okay. So
You're talking
uh,
about the synthesis.
the synthesis, Treebeard. Treebeard
Yeah.
wasn't right.
Yeah. Tree beer. Okay. Yeah.
Crazy
Yeah.
tangent.
Well,
So
that's like he's like
yeah,
he's like Eastern. He's like a lot of Eastern like religion and
yeah.
philosophy, where it's like, oh, as long as I get myself right, I don't really need to do anything.
Which is why China hasn't like China does creates these crazy things like writing, gunpowder, etc., etc. Like they create all these insane things, but then they're like, yeah, we don't need them. Those are
We're good.
beneath us. Yeah. Which you know is it's whatever, but
There's some
then
wisdom. There's some wisdom to that. At least they don't
yeah
like have the fault of the other extreme, where it's like the religion of like scientific progress and the peak of human capabilities,
yeah
which is what the West does.
yeah. The question
So like the nice thing about Eastern stuff is like they have a very good respect for like all life, like nature, and like other conscious beings.
hmm
And it's like in the West that kind of like to falls to the ideal of having humans be like the top dogs, like right, like oh God gave us dominion over all the land. That means we can do whatever we want with them.
manifest destiny. Yeah.
Manifest. Yeah. Oh, let me read the quote I sent you.
Oh yeah, sure.
So this is a part of the Zhangzhou, which is some good old Eastern Chinese philosophy for you guys. So the ruler of the Southern Ocean was Shu. The ruler of the Northern Ocean was Hu, and the ruler of the center was Chaos. Su and Hu were continually meeting in the land of Chaos, who treated them very well. They consulted together how they might repay his kindness, and said, "Men have all 7 orifices for the purpose of seeing, hearing, eating, and breathing, while this ruler alone has not a single one. Let us try to make them for him." Accordingly, they dug one orifice in him every day, and at the end of 7 days, Chaos died.
So
There you go.
that's pretty good. That is God creating the world in 7 days. That is uh, Marduk in the Sumerian creation myth, defeating Tiamat, who is chaos, and creating the world. From her from the carcass of chaos comes reality, or the world, or something. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of good meditations on that if you take the time to
Oh, that's something cool
think
too.
about it.
So, at the beginning of the book of J, the 7-day creation story doesn't exist.
Interesting.
Creation is pretty much exactly, okay, not exactly, but it's pretty much the same as the Sumerian creation myth of Marduk versus Tiamat. It's like, I guess I could like read it, but it's let me try to find it real quick. It's kind of
What I think
remarkable.
is while you're trying to find that, what I think is interesting is since God creates life out of order, and since we are made in the image of God, we must therefore create. Since God creates life out of chaos, creates order out of chaos. Since we're made in the image of God, we should also be creating order out of chaos. And it's like yesent for that one because we are made in the image of God, but we're not God. So when we try to subject a natural thing, a natural God's creation, to a form of creation in ourselves, we're almost missing the point. So creation in itself and change is not a bad thing. God does it. God loves creation. God loves creativity. We're all born with the God spark in us. But is trying to create order out of the chaos that God intentionally creates a good idea? I don't know.
Yeah. So, in the book of J, let me see here real quick. See, I always think I read something, and then it turns out to not be in the thing that I was thinking about. Where is
Yeah,
it?
that happens.
City, Babel. You know, I'm actually not gonna read it because I don't remember where it was. Oh yeah, here it is. Okay. Oh, okay. So this isn't actually the book of J. This is in one of the on page 30. He says this is kind of the creation myth in Genesis rewritten by Harold Bloom using ideas. I'll just read it. Job, if combined with the Psalms and Isaiah, and with passages scattered through Kings, Nahum, Proverbs, Jeremiah, and Habakkuk, would give one a composite vision of the archaic cosmology, something like this. And before I read it, he's what was it? Actually, no, I'm just gonna read it. Yahweh, with one word, created the sun, the moon, and the stars. He stretched out the skies like a tent cloth to shroud the deep, and placed his secret court above the skies, founding it upon the higher waters. In creating, Yahweh rode above the deep, which rose against him. Tihom, queen of the deep, sought to draw out Yahweh's creation, but he rode against her in his chariot of fire, and bombarded her with hail and with lightning. Yahweh destroyed her vassal, Leviathan, with one great blow to the monster's skull, while he was ended while he ended Rahab by thrusting a sword into her heart. The waters fled backward, awed by the voice of Yahweh, and Tihom fearfully surrendered. Yahweh shouted his triumph and dried up the floods. He set the moon to divide the seasons, the sun to divide day and night. Observing Yahweh's victory, the morning stars sang together, and all the sons of God shouted for joy. thus the work of creation was completed.
Do you want to end on that?
We can end on that. I think that is kind of the culmination of what we were kind of saying in this story, in this podcast, which is that our argument for all religions, well, maybe not all, I don't know. The argument for there being kind of multiple paths to heaven is not necessarily that there are multiple paths to heaven, but rather religions are different cultures' best attempt at figuring out what that is. And the more you study them and like actually study them and not take them in the fundamentalist ways that the hyper-conservative factions of those religions will take them, but really look at them, their mythology and their creation myths and their ways to becoming a better person, you'll realize that it's all remarkably similar. Like, I don't know an instance of a religion saying going out and murdering someone is a pathway to enlightenment or paradise or whatever. Now, there may be a religion like that. I haven't come across that though. And so that's just kind of one example, but yeah, that's kind of what I have for right now. So
Good stuff, man.
yeah, pretty cool. We actually just hit an hour about a minute ago.
Perfect,
so
dude.
yeah, we got it back. This was part 2 of episode 3, but part 1 doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist, dude. It's the 12th camel.
It's the 12th camel. What? We have to tell.
Look up, please look up. Oh yeah,
We're gonna have to tell them that story. Should we tell it now or should we tell it some other time?
Hit it now.
Hit it now.
Just do it. Don't explain it.
Okay. So once upon a time, there was a guy, and he was getting on in years, and he had 3 sons, and his sons came to him and said, "Father, give us our inheritance." More or less, I'm kind of combining the story of the prodigal son with it too, but the father says, "Yes, let's do that. It's high time you have your inheritance." And all the father has is 11 camels. And so he says, "Well, I'm going to give half of my camels to my oldest son. I'm going to give a quarter of my camels to my second son, and I'm only going to give 2 camels to my youngest son." The issue that immediately arises is you cannot cut 11 camels in half. You also, by extension, cannot cut them into quarters because 11 is an odd number. Therefore, we then get, oh wow, it's midnight. We then
So the father is like, "Yo, what the heck? Your sons are flustered." And the distribution of the camels seems like an impossible task. But after bickering about it, they decide to go to a judge about it. And he says, "Take one of my camels, make the distribution, and hold on."
So now they have 12 camels.
I lost my train of thought. Yeah, take my 12 camels and make the distribution.
Take my 1 camel, so now you have 12. Yeah.
So now you have 12. So thereby having 12, you can do the half, divide it into 6. You can do the quarter, divide it into, that's 3 more. So 6 and 3, that's 9. And then you give 2 to the last one. And then you're like, wait a second. That makes 11 camels. So the 12th one isn't taken or isn't distributed. But it's necessary. But it doesn't even have to exist.
And so the father says to the judge, "Well, what should we do with the 12th camel?" And the judge says, "Well, I'll just take it back. We save it for a rainy day." So take that story however you will, because if we tell you how to take that story, you're not going to get out of it what you need to get out of it.
You're not gonna like it.
You're not going to like it. But that being said,
Totally.
thank you for...
It's a parable for a reason.
That's right, exactly. Never explain a parable. So that's episode 3 of the New Tradition. Thanks for watching, and we'll I won't tell you to like or subscribe because you already know to do that. But yeah,
You're predestined to do it.
You're predestined. You're going to hell, bro, if you don't like or subscribe. Cool. Boom.